and gentlemen, it truly, truly is a pleasure. I'm happy to be here. I'm wanted to be here. And here I am, without deserving it like you guys. I'm here as a guest, but still I'm happy. So I'm going to read my speech on my phone in case I get a phone call. I don't know what I'm going to do. So here's the topic: freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is unlike love. Love, as popularly quoted, is never having to say that you're sorry. With freedom of speech, you must be ready to say as many things as you want, need to, before you say sorry. That too only when you're truly convinced you are sorry, that is. The choice of the topic freedom of speech was mine. Those who invited me here must have also believed in it, for they allowed me this freedom, choosing the topic. Why did I choose this topic? Why now? Is it because as a filmmaker, free thinker, free speaker, do I feel that my work might be impeded by this lack of freedom of speech? Yes, I got the phone call. So my speech disappeared. I beg your pardon? Is it because as a filmmaker, a free speaker and thinker, I feel suddenly concerned about my freedom of speech? Is it any reason untoward or frightening attempt to curb or coerce my speech? Through politics or religion, or both? My honest answer, not really. To be precise, not exactly. I'm only voicing my concern, which is handed down to me by my ancestors, generations of town criers who cared for their lot. What is Kamal Haasan's problem? What is ailing him? That he chooses to speak on freedom of speech as if it were threatened. That too in a democratic fortress like the US of A, where freedom thrives, and freedom of speech more so. You can speak, rap, curse, and also use parliamentary language to show off your education. That's the kind of freedom enjoyed here. But is that freedom of speech? Is that freedom enough? Hyde Park in London, centuries ago, allowed somewhat similar freedom. It was called soapbox oratory and allowed speaking opportunity. For centuries, many could clearly see the oppressing or the opportunistic political hand throughout history, however stealthily it moved. From the Senate of Rome to the modern-day Senates. Democracy is often touted as being the only bastion for freedom of speech. My opinion is questioned when I tell them democracy is not the most infallible of political systems. They take umbrage, they see red as my political complexion. Let me confess I'm not. I feed myself in this international buffet of political ideologies, never committed to one diet as if it were my religion. I think, like in his food habits, man should remain omnivorous to stay on top of the food chain. I don't have a religion, yet I shamelessly use some of the rare but finer points from even religion for a better living and harmony. Cocktail of isms is going to be the ultimate and final answer for all social maladies. We have in our sharp 10,000 year period of time experimented with various combinations. It is work in progress. Our society is work in progress. Some scientists believe that human mind itself is work in progress. So I'm unwilling to accept any one political ideology as a settled cure for all our woes. I'm always usually sternly informed that I cannot deny the fact that only in a democracy can freedom of speech exist. Freedom, unlike money serves, is not safe once inside a bank locker. It won't safely accrue to be withdrawn for use in times of dire need. Constant vigil is necessary to safeguard it. I am part of that large vigilant community that is always on the lookout for subtle political coercion. That's the reason why I'm willingly part of the reform committee in India that is going to recommend a new order of function for the Film Certification Board. A board that surreptitiously tries to censor films and other voices in the name of culture and the state. I'm not here to bash democracy or praise communism or socialism. I've taken this opportunity to put on record through media and those receptive minds here that we cannot take freedom of speech for granted and complacently think that democracy automatically means freedom of speech. It is only through the offices of democracy that Adolf Hitler rose to power. Oh, that was when the world was naive. Not anymore possible, some say. Let's move forward in history, and that too in Indian political history, and you find emergency promulgated and voices silenced in plain sight for the world to see. I'm not taking a dig at my own country. As a matter of fact, I'm proud of the kind of democracy we have managed to practice in spite of the many attempts to abuse it. India is a younger democracy as compared to the century-old democracy practiced in UK and the US of A. Yet, universal suffrage, that is voting rights for citizens of India, came into practice 15 years before it came into practice in the democracy called America. It was not democracy that allowed freedom of speech and freedom itself, but the other way around. It was freedom of speech that sculpted and cultured democracy. Silenced voices rose in harmony, masterfully orchestrated by Martin Luther King. His blood was the ink that made corrections in the law of this land. America moved into a period of transition after that. Not only India, the world is in transition. The world is going to face new challenges, find new opportunities. I can almost hope to see borders blur within my lifetime, and all will truly and slowly become citizens of the world instead of boasting limited parochial borders. Many, many whistles will have to be blown before that happens. I'm proud and fortunate to be in a medium that can reflect and protect freedom of speech, and even fight for it simultaneously, and also in a full frontal attack if need be. Some of my friends asked, "You're going to speak all this in Harvard?" Some of them asked in awe and some in disbelief. I have been constantly reminded before coming here about my lack of intramural training. I must humbly submit that I'm a high school dropout. Before, with very little success on my side, I used to brag about being a dropout and yet managing to move seamlessly in a scholarly circle without being caught out. That's because I was a good actor. I knew my lines. I have over time realized the value of education and the institutions that disperse it. It might be true that even these great institutions need to be constantly reformed. I can only agree with pedestrian understanding that change is permanent and rigidity or stagnation is the recipe for atrophy and regression. Pursue wisdom and skill in your chosen field where it is taught with scientific methodology. People often confuse my voicing dreams of going back to film school as humility, that too false humility. Believe me, it's truly humility that time and experience has taught me, that too not very kindly. I have learned little tricks in the time I spent in the film industry, a little more than half a century. What took me nearly 25 years to learn could easily be taught to me in a proper film school in 5 or 7 years. The only difference and a happy compensation was that I was earning through the process of learning instead of spending on my education. I guess that's a good trade-off. While India is poised for a leap in many fields, in my own field of activity, we are preparing the ground for India to become truly an international contestant in the global market. We want India not to become complacent with a happy captive home market of 1.2 billion. We want India to set world standards. We have done it before. We have been the forerunners and actual practitioners of the civil disobedience, an idea presented as a theory by Henry David Thoreau. We actually put it to practice. Thanks be to Mr. Rajagopalachari, popularly known as Rajaji, and our own Mr. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. India became a trendsetter for giants like Mr. Martin Luther King and Mr. Mandela to emulate. Those vigilant gentlemen have made it possible for me to speak fearlessly but with responsibility today. I respect the way their freedom to speak was won. On a rare occasion, freedom of speech was won, taking on violence without returning it in kind. A very hard act to follow. To take on violence with non-violence needs extraordinary valor. Not without reason does Gandhiji, an otherwise humble man, openly brag about ahimsa being the highest form of valor. That's why probably the 24th Tirthankara, the saint in the Jainic religious order, the champion of ahimsa, was called Mahavira, the great warrior. Ahimsa is difficult to achieve. It is not done merely by turning vegetarian. Being a vegetarian and yet showing apathy to a fellow human being is purpose defeated. In my mind, there is this constant tussle between Darwin's theory and the fascinating concept of ahimsa. Well, that's another subject for another podium, another debate. Once again, I remind myself and you to be on constant vigil. Any government, institution, or religion trying overtly or covertly to coerce your mind to suit a narrow selfish purpose with disregard to larger society is something we should all be wary of. I, as an actor, found that dialogue always enhanced my performance. And soliloquy, if I'm not careful, made me look like a ham. They had given me 20 minutes. I don't know whether they've taken that much time, but in favor of dialogue, I relinquished whatever time was left over and would like to enhance my performance in the dialogue.